be able to encourage the people in the area of the toxicology. And let me say a little things about the society. It's called the Forum of Nigerian Toxicologists, and this society ought to have been in place several years ago on account of the number of the toxicological issues in Nigeria, and some of the elders in toxicology who are here, some advisors, who also realize and appreciate that we had something that is more or less a toxicology society, but of a West African scope. But we just felt that Nigeria should have a society. And I would like to say that more or less this is about the first national body of the toxicology that you can say that is active, that I can call the convocation of the toxicologists in Nigeria.
The theme of this conference, tackling toxicological issues in the 21st century, is in line with the vision and mission of the university in the area of advancement of societal-based inquiries for the benefit of humankind. It is deeply impressive that the standard of the conference remains very high, and it continues to expose toxicologists and paramedical scientists to a conference of international standards. This is indeed commendable, as this will serve as the first exposure for many young faculty and researchers to an international conference.
I remember FONTOX once started prior to COVID-19 pandemic, and immediately after FONTOX 1, globally there was a total lockdown. And today we have FONTOX 2. Many things went with COVID-19 pandemic, but FONTOX 2 today is alive. Let's put our hands together for FONTOX 2.
Prof. Ambali is a professor of Environmental Toxicology at the University of Ilorin, Nigeria. He holds a DVM and an MSc and a PhD degree in veterinary toxicology from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. He has more than 27 years of university teaching and research experience. He has published more than 130 articles.
We found out that Nigeria becomes vulnerable. So what it means is that as toxicologists, we have to think outside of the box, because these data that are getting to us from abroad may not reflect our own reality. So we have to, when we import chemicals into our environment, we know that whatever is given to us, we must do our own, because we have peculiarity. We are peculiar in our socio-cultural, socio-economic status, and this has to be reflected. So the issue of niche toxicology, we know that what is happening within our environment is that we are subjected to arrays of chemicals, inhaling, getting through to our skin, ingesting through our food. But when we want to do toxicological studies, we just use one simple chemical to do it, or pre-planned arrays of chemicals. That is not what it is in reality. And so that means a lot of factors we have to be taken into consideration because of this single line exposure that we are doing. And so it's an issue that has to do with risk assessment that we as toxicologists we need to solve. Then there are so many regulatory issues in toxicology. We know that toxicology, we do risk assessments so that we can regulate whatever we use. We can regulate our exposure.
It is my pleasure that I welcome you to the University of Ibadan, the first and the best. for the second biennial conference organized by the Forum of Nigerian Toxicologists. I'm particularly happy that FONTOX has decided to make this program a biennial event since the inaugural meeting in 2020, shortly before the COVID-19 episode. I'm also pleased to know that many of you are from other universities and research institutes in the country. This is a mark of your confidence in also host the conference. The importance of a program such as this conference cannot be overemphasized. It is a good source of updates for senior academicians and useful learning process for the younger faculty members.
I'm very delighted. As a matter of fact, the provost has asked me to express delight about the fact that this society is in existence, and the fact that it is also able to come up with this conference, which is 2.0, despite the teaching challenges that are very, very obvious for a very new society that has been created. We know that this might be a bit rough at the beginning, but the provost has said that I encourage the leadership of the society to keep up the spirit and ensure that they continue with what they know how to do best.
And I want to also congratulate you for having this second conference. I know that it's not easy to organize a conference, but by effort and by the grace of God, you have been able to put this together. And I just want to encourage everyone that is here that we should make full use of this opportunity to interact with one another, to exchange scientific ideas, and probably come up with policies that can lead to the development of our nation.
Professor Ambali, thank you very much for that wonderful speech. To the participants, tackling toxicological issues actually is a problem for all of us.
I consider it special honor to be invited to witness this opening ceremony. No doubt, this is a price to pay for occupying the leadership of the faculty of the university. Therefore, I sincerely wish to appreciate the entire membership of FONTOX and the executive committee ably led by the national president, the distinguished, erudite, and accomplished scientist, leader, mentor, and trailblazer of our own Professor Ilorin for the privilege to be here. The Holy Scriptures say, "No man taketh this honor unto himself." I thank you for this honor. I congratulate the executive committee members and the local organizing committee and all who have expended time, energy, and resources to put together and play host to this important conference. I welcome all delegates, members of FONTOX, and other dignitaries from within and outside Nigeria to this meeting.
What I said that addresses a local issue, just like the keynote speaker mentioned, it's a kind of providing security against hazardous education. But I want to bring something forward that I think is useful for putting this agenda forward. Earlier highlighted the speaker. When we talk about toxicology, not only look at it from the biological point of view.
Thank you to everyone, and I want to believe that we have all learned very important things from this interaction, especially from the keynote address. The keynote address brings to the fore the precarious balance between morality and science. Because we have a precarious balance. And that's one of the reasons why we find it difficult to implement some of the recommendations that come from scientific research. Because when we talk about toxicology, and we say everything is poisonous, when in excess, and there we're talking about industrial development, economic gains, countries making money to sustain the country.
One of the challenges of toxicologists is being able to identify the right model to use. Of course, if I stand here this afternoon and I ask you to volunteer to be used for toxicological study, even if you agree, I'll be arrested, I'll be dealt with, because it is not ethically permitted that humans should be used for such studies. So, on a number of times, we look for models that we can use, the right model, and you cannot use all the models for all your studies. You have to first of all establish if the model, the organism you want to use is actually good for what you want to study. For example, there are some organisms that do not have the metabolic capacity to metabolize certain toxicants. So you have to be able to identify the right and appropriate model organism for your study. Also, if you are interested in phenotypic features, after exposing your organism to the toxicants, it's not all organisms that will give you phenotypic features. And Drosophila is one of the organisms that can give you phenotypic features, as we're going to see in the course of the presentation. I know that we are toxicologists, but I'm also aware that we have undergraduate students here from different departments. So I'll just take just a few seconds to touch on this introductory aspect of the definition of toxicology and other aspects of toxicology. As we know, SOT, Society of Toxicology, define this important field as the study of the adverse effects of chemicals. It's not just chemicals, physical agents, biological agents, on organisms, living organisms, not just human, living organisms in the environment.
Whether you like it or not, it will be evident as the presentation goes on. You find that we live in a chemical world, whether we like it or not. Let's just look at ourselves. Polyester, plastic bottle, food pack, the hair cream the ladies are wearing, even your clothes, the coloring, everything. So we virtually live in a chemical world. Now, I like to draw your attention to this. Many of you may have heard of a disease called Itai disease. It's a Japanese word for ush, or it hurts. And what does this summarize? You can see there's a mine up there. Now, the mine, all the waste were released into this water. And people were using the water to bath, to plant tents and so on. And later, a strange disease, as they put it, developed, which they didn't know the name. For want of name, they were calling it ush, which means it's hot, it's painful. Then you see this man. Over the years, they have been using the water, and then after some years, you can see him, Now, it is known that cadmium, by way of carbon monoxide, of course, cadmium competes with calcium, which affected the bone. So, Itai disease is now, after a lot of mechanistic studies, known to be a form of osteomalacia. And significantly related to nutrition, it was found that people who were malnourished, particularly pregnant and elderly women, were more prone. And again, this is a global chemical outlook as of 2019. But what I want you to take note of is the rate of growth in the developing countries, particularly Africa and the Middle East. Then you ask yourself, are we prepared to manage chemicals soundly?
So what do you understand or what do you mean by mathematical model?
Mathematical model is an abstract description of a complete system using the usual mathematical concept. In other words, the usual mathematical concept of y is equal to mc. We are trying to look at the possibility of reducing medical research and practice to a simple mathematical equation. And mathematical model could be numerical, it could be quantitative, but what is important is for one to appreciate the fact that it could be used to represent most of the common things that we do and say within the medical research world. Again, mathematical model describes a system by a set of variables or equations. It could be by graph, it could be by anything. But what is important is what I've just said. It could be numerical, it could be quantitative. They are useful in epidemiological research, in planning, evaluation and control of programs, in clinical trials, and in diagnosis of patients towards maximizing the effectiveness of operations in the management of patient diseases. And for this particular presentation, the focus will be on the application of mathematical model as a diagnostic tool in predicting lead nephropathy. Toxicology. Fortunately, this has been severally defined and discussed. However, for brevity, it is the study of poisons or comprehensive identification and qualification of adverse outcomes associated with exposure to physical agents, chemical substances, and other conditions.
Council of Nigeria, member of the Institute of Medical Sciences, United Kingdom, a member of Society of Toxicology, a member of Society of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry, and a foundation fellow of the West African Postgraduate College of Medical Laboratory Science. Dr. Motoshaw is a reader in chemical pathology and the current head of the Biomedical Laboratory Science Department of the University of Ibadan. He is an examiner to the Medical Laboratory Science Council, Al-Hikman University, and many other universities. He is also a member of IFCC Committee on Analytical Quality. He is a member of Governing Council of Federal Medical Center, Makodi, and Oyo State NACDAD Committee on Fake, Counterfeit, and Unwholesome Drugs and Food to the Ibadan Muslim Hospital. Please welcome with me Dr. Motoshaw as he talks to us using mathematical models to predict lead neuropathy. Thank you very much.
As the title says, yes.
cardiovascular diseases are the leading cause of morbidity and mortality, and we have had an increase from 1993 to 2019, and this is projected to continue increasing. And in sub-Saharan Africa, we have 86% of cardiovascular disease-related deaths occurring out of hospital. People just collapse, and that's it, without knowing that they had this all along. Epidemiological studies have emphasized the role of traditional risk factors. Don't smoke, watch your diet. But environmental exposures, over which the individual has little control, also plays an important role, and it is not really emphasized as a risk factor.
For address this issue, we have the law which have been identified to have multi-pharmacological effects. So with the gap we are trying to identify here and solve is that that of comorbidity and multi-morbidity. Most of the clinical study have always mimic just exposure to a single chemical or toxin. But here we are looking at a mixture of these because we are exposed to a mixture of all these. So that's we are just trying to see the impact of these on the strata, the structure, and also both in the parents and in the pups for hypertensive animals. Here, this just shows the experimental design, both for the hypertensive and the non-hypertensive animals. This shows the graph for it. Then we subjected to new behavioral disorder test using open feed. This is how the weightlets were prepared, and these are some of the assays that were conducted in the course, and data analysis was conducted.
The mechanism of toxicity is through the production of reactive oxygen species and the reduction of apoptosis. So we are physiological derangements of the cardiovascular and renal systems are critical components of many diseases of man and animals, because these organs are very, very interwoven. Whatever affects the kidney affects the heart, causes hypertension, and vice versa. Flavonoid is a very potent free radical scavenger, and it is very, very abundant in the grapefruits. So the aim of this research is to explore the nephroprotective effect of naringeine and its ameliorative effects on complications associated with cobalt chloride-induced nephrotoxicity. These are the objectives: to determine the in vivo metal-chelating antioxidant power of naringeine, to determine the nephroprotective effect of naringeine on cobalt chloride-induced nephrotoxicity. Hypothesis research. Justification. Human beings and animals are being exposed intentionally and unintentionally to a variety of adverse chemicals which can damage the kidneys and also cause cardiovascular disorders. Inflammatory bowel disease is a gastrointestinal disease that is divided into Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Although the exact cause of IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease, remain unknown. And some of the symptoms of inflammatory bowel disease is blood stooling, fatigue, loss of weight. Ulcerative colitis, which is an inflammatory bowel disease, affects the gastrointestinal tract, causing inflammation and sores. It happens when the immune system makes a mistake, which causes an irritation, inflammation, and ulcers in the lining of the large intestine. It has its types, which is the palm colitis, left-sided colitis, and the rest. And also the symptoms are similar to the inflammatory bowel disease. So alternative therapies has been used. Treatment of ulcerative colitis are aminosalicylate and corticosteroid. Then alternative therapies is being considered, which is medicinal plants, which has been used since prehistoric time.
Atrazine, a widely used broad spectrum environmental herbicide, has been evidenced to be a globally significant public health hazard, which has been associated with adverse neurological dysfunctions, which ultimately result in cell death of dopaminergic neurons. Hence, there is a growing ability to identify effective therapeutic strategies to mitigate this effect potentiated by atrazine. Hence, colavira, a bioactive compound that is obtained from Garcinia cola, commonly known as bitter cola, known here in Louvain as Orogo, has been reputed for its antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-apoptotic properties, linked with its role in drug-mediated neurotoxicity. And that brings me to the justification of the story that
there are mounting evidences that suggested that atrazine may be able to cause neurotoxicity via a plethora of mechanisms such as oxidative stress.
Medical law is ranked among the top 20 frequently prescribed drugs in the United States, and it's known for its effectiveness in the treatment of acute anxiety-related disorder, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease. It's also characterized as a beta-adrenergic receptor blocker. Its high solubility and persistence in the environment makes it a contaminant of emerging concern. Noveta cinerea can also be called speckled or lobster food. It originated from northeastern African countries, namely Egypt, Libya, and Sudan. It breeds easily in captivity, and the adult cockroach is 3 cm in length, which means low maintenance cost, ease of handling, large progeny size, and long lifespan.
Copper has been identified as the third most abundant trace metal after iron and zinc, which we have heard in many presentations today. And indeed, copper has been implicated in the development and functioning of the central nervous system, in biosynthesis of hormones, in some physiological and biochemical processes. And the basis of copper is of great importance to health, and its imbalance has been implicated in pathogenesis of different disorders. Deficiency of copper has been reported in familial amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, autistic disease, and different motor dysfunction. A recent study has shown many different copper-binding molecules induce cell death by a mechanism different from apoptosis that we all know. And a publication that was accepted October last month termed the process of cell death through copper as apoptosis, because its function or its way of causing cell death is quite different from apoptosis and the one that is already known.
Cause the neurological disorder characterized by persistent seizures, lasting at least 5 minutes, and if untreated, it can lead to death and high mortality. There are lots of adverse effects and consequences of lithium of status epilepticus, and this has been seen. It causes neurodegeneration, and it also leads to apoptosis. Chemo substances have been used to induce status epilepticus. Some of it is lithium pilocarpine, which I will use in inducing status epilepticus for this study. Pathophysiologic mechanism of status epilepticus. Status epilepticus is occurs by the imbalance in the excitatory and inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain. When there's an imbalance in this, it leads to the misfiring of neurons, thereby leading to seizure, which can also be seen as status epilepticus.
Just as you know that diabetes is a disease characterized by elevation level of blood serum, which also affects the dysregulation in lipid and protein metabolism, leading to alteration in action and secretion of insulin, depending on the type of diabetes you are considering. The rationale for this study is that alpha amylase is the calcium metabolizing enzyme, the enzyme that breaks up the polysaccharide, thereby elevating the blood level of glucose. Various enzymatic inhibitors such as metformin have been used to inhibit this particular, but they are also developed. So medicinal plants have been discovered to also be of focus, and the thought for this focus exacerbator in this study.
The catalytic activity of PDA5 has been suggested to be as the major cause of erectile dysfunction in men, and it does that by degrading the cGMP, that is the cyclic granulosine monophosphate, and by doing it causes the smooth vessel to be constricted and preventing the blood flow to manhood. Also, Moringa oleifera also known as the miracle plant, and has been suggested to be anti-diabetic, anti-hypertensive, and anti-cancer. Also, studies have shown that the bioactive compound of Moringa oleifera has the inhibitory property of inhibiting the catalytic activity of PDE5. This shows the inhibitory activities of the phytochemical for Moringa aloe on PDE5. The phytochemical character influence the drug availability, while the adductors predict the behavior of the drug in human.
We have a lot of toxicological issues in Nigeria, ranging from pollution, indiscriminate disposal of waste and chemical compounds, and hazardous substance and effluents from industries, and also from various areas into the water system, which invariably get to the human system via the food chain. And on account of this, and also because there is a dearth of toxicology in Africa continent, especially in Nigeria, in terms of coming together to be able to have a synergy and to have a convocation of experts working in different areas and aspects of toxicology to be able to do, what is needful. And by tackling all these issues that I've mentioned, we decided to form this society a few years ago. And at this particular time, we decided to give this team tackling toxicological issues in Nigeria, especially in the 21st century. And as you can see, the keynote speaker, aptly addressed that particular theme. And we hope that subsequently other speakers will also take a cue from that and do justice to the theme and other aspects of the sub-themes.
You listen to the lecture. I talked about green chemistry, where these goods, these things that we produce, become less hazardous. And so as toxicologists, we have something to do with that. And we talk about waste management, circular economy. We need to promote that. But the government, and most especially the regulatory agencies, they need to do a lot. If you look at the state of affairs in terms of risk assessment in this country, it's nothing to write home about presently. So we need, as toxicologists, risk assessment experts, we need to develop manpower capacity in order to be able to address some of these challenges. We have regulatory agencies, we have NAFDAC, we have Nigeria. We need to close rank. We need the support of the National Assembly in order to address some of these challenges. There is no doubt, not only plastic, we have nanomaterials, we have a lot of chemicals seeping into our water, which we take, and nobody bothers. All these have some deleterious effect on the environment and on human and animal health. And so all hands must be on deck. The government has to play a very significant role in this, especially in relation to capacity building, so that our scientists can look into our surroundings and be able to tailor our research to the needs, specific needs of our environment.